Hello and welcome to TSL Talk for round six already, and we're joined by Glenorchy Grand Final coach Ben Reid. Ben, thanks very much for joining us.
No worries, Brett. Thanks for having me.
At 2 wins from the first 5 rounds, it would be fair to say that things haven't quite clicked for the Pies just yet. What do you think the missing ingredient's been so far?
Yeah, look, it's something we're working really hard to put our finger on, Brett. No one's more disappointed in our performances than us as a group. I suppose the first thing is that essentially it's a new group to a large degree. You can't just roll into another season have the same expectations when the group's changed significantly. So I think we've probably had about 6 or 7 of our grand final side move on. Some of those only quite close to the season, which affected our planning a little bit, and some of those were a bit unforeseen. So, a few other guys that played in our best 22 all last year have been slow starters or haven't hit the field yet, and that's probably hurt us, to be honest. But otherwise, we still haven't played great footy. We've still got a lot of critical areas that we've got to get better at and continue to work hard at.
How far away do you think you are from getting back to your best footy?
Look. I don't think we're miles away. I don't think we're miles away at all. We are working really hard, and we're seeing small improvements from week to week. I think if we can if we can start to get a bit of continuity with our 22 and add a few of those guys back into it, hopefully things will come together relatively quickly. But we'll just have to keep working.
On paper, looking at your forward line, it looks sensational. There's lots of big names down there like Michael Darcy, but he's just got 6 goals from the first 5 games so far. It hasn't quite clicked for him and for the forward line just yet?
No, that's just the case. You're right. Yeah, it hasn't at all. And I suppose first things first. Pud's probably had a few unreasonable expectations placed on him from outside the footy club, and perhaps the media included. Internally, we certainly never expected Pud to be a 50, 60, 70, 100 goal kicker, and he wasn't recruited on that basis. Last year we had a forward line that functioned fairly well, and look, we just saw that Pud could add some value to that. And we also lost a couple of midfielders, so we thought that we could shift a couple of guys that played more of their footy forward last year to cover some of those losses into the midfield. Pud, he's worked hard. He's as fit as he's ever been, but he unfortunately probably hasn't played a game yet where he hasn't taken in a small niggle to some extent, and that that's telling sometimes. But he's getting better. His work when he doesn't have the footy is improving, and he played a really good game a couple of weeks ago against Burnie, and we hope to see more of that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, Jonathan Bowring was probably a bit unlucky to miss out on the state Guernsey last year, but he's continued on that form this year, and I think he's got 16 goals so far. You think he'll be a certainty for the trip to Queensland this year?
That's not something I'm going to have much involvement in, and Matty Armstrong will pick the team that he thinks he requires for the conditions and the opposition they play. So, but yeah, for sure, I thought Jonathan was stiff on the form he showed last year, and his form's been really good again this year. So I'd expect he'll be in the squad, and things will take care of themselves from there.
And this week, obviously, you're playing North Hobart on Sunday, which is probably the match of the round. It's going to be a big game for you. They're in good form. Yeah,
they are in good form. They've got a pretty new group too. A lot of new faces have come into the club. They seem to have gelled fairly quickly, and they've had some really good results to date. So big challenge for our group. Playing them on their home deck on Sunday. You'd expect there might be a few extra people there, maybe, being this sort of standalone game. Look, as with all footy at North Hobart, the side that sort of pressures the ball and the man for longest generally comes out on top there, so that's going to be a real focus for us going into this week, and we hope to put in an improved showing.
Yeah, if you drop this game, you'll be 2-4, and it's a long way back to the top 2 where all the premiership contenders want to be.
Yeah, for sure. Look, with the way the finals have been restructured this year, from 1 to 4, there's not a great deal of difference in benefit as far as finishing position. So the top 2 last year can be expanded to a top 4 now, we're still obviously dead keen to get into that top 4. Yeah. And you're right, if we drop this one, it makes things a little bit more difficult, but we won't stop working and trying.
All right, to have a look at the rest of the games for round 6 now. Launceston, 4th on the ladder, got the big ask against Clarence, 5-0 at Windsor Park. Launceston, probably a bit like yourselves, probably high expectations going into the season, and it hasn't quite worked for them yet either.
Yeah, I think they'd admit that themselves. They've had some issues going on up there, which as far as inconsistent performances. So, yeah, they'll be looking to bounce back at home. Clarence are going really, really well, obviously. They've even managed to perform well without a couple of key players over the last couple of weeks. So, this is going to be a good test for them, and hopefully Launceston can serve it up to them. But I'd be tipping Clarence at this stage.
You had a good look at North Lonnie last week. They're at home to Lauderdale, and the Northern Bombers will start hot favourites in that game.
Yeah, we've played them both over the last few weeks, and Lauderdale sort of played really well against us as well. But the Northern Bombers impressed me last week. Paul Atkins has got them working really, really well together as a unit, and their crop of midfielders is very damaging if they're given space. And I think North Launceston will probably hold sway there.
Yep. The young Bernie Dockers, they started off the season in great form, but winning their first two, but now dropped their last three. They're at home to South Lonnie, who, since opening the first game since opening the season with a win, have struggled since then.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one, I reckon. I saw South Launceston play and beat Lauderdale at North Hobart a few weeks ago too. They were a very young group, but very committed to each other, and really worked hard for 4 quarters that day. If they can replicate that performance, I think they might win. But as with any young side, you get those inconsistencies. Bernie are young as well, so that's going to be an interesting one.
Can you tip a winner in that one?
I'll go for Bernie at home.
Yeah, and probably an interesting game up the TCA. Hobart, who struggled at the start of the season, but have really hit a purple patch the last 2 weeks. They're at home at Devonport, who have pretty much done the same, both at 2 and 3, winning the last 2 games. This game at the TCA ground.
Yeah, Devonport came to the TCA ground last year and got a win, I think. That experience will stand them in good stead because it's a bit of a unique venue. Hobart, they're sort of been a bit up and down as well. It's going to be a good game, another close one. It's going to be a close round, and I think I'll tip Devonport.
Ben, thanks very much for joining us, and remember, for all your TSL previews and match stories, go to the Mercury online or pick up your copy of the Mercury.